When people stop believing the system is fair, they stop playing by the rules.
The knife attack in Belfast last night is a stark reminder that the social contract between the people, you and I, and the government and the people tasked with protecting us is well and truly over.
I cannot remember a time in my life when I've been this concerned about the state of the UK. And I'm not talking about the specific stuff.
The regret is slowly starting to appear.
Guys, look at this. Nah, he's taking the piss. He's taking the piss.
What the fuck is going on with this world at the moment? Not just the world, the country that I live in. Honestly, it's disgusting.
Well, this is worrying news, isn't it, for the UK? Particularly after John Healey yesterday resigned as Defence Secretary. Britain plummets in rankings for the world's safest countries as Global Peace Index 2026 reveals. Yeah, let that sink in. We've plummeted. Wonder why that is? John Healey resigned yesterday, saying that the government can't keep this country safe, the spending is inadequate. I've spoken to people in the army and they're saying it's falling to pieces. Gosh, troubling times ahead.
Every single day I'm on these platforms just seeing another tragedy. A girl 17-year-old's been stabbed in the neck in Lancashire. Are we just sitting back, just allowing this to happen? Are we just sitting back waiting for the day that we're outnumbered and there's loads of them coming forward? Like, our grandparents and their grandparents would be turning in their grave. We haven't even got, the Great British public now haven't even got the balls to stop funding the system. Never mind stand up and go to war. Like, what has happened to society? Everyone's just turned into pussies, and do you know what it is?
Welcome to Blighty Blighted, your daily reminder that something feels broken in Britain. And I'm not sure anyone in charge wants to admit it. Now, I've been thinking lately about something called the social contract. Fancy phrase, I know. But it's actually quite simple. The idea was that ordinary people worked hard, paid their taxes, obeyed the law, looked after their neighbors, and in return, society broadly worked. Not perfectly, but it worked. You could build a life. You could save money. You could plan for the future. There was a sense that if you did the right thing, the system would generally do right by you. Today, a lot of people aren't so sure. Food costs a fortune. Housing feels out of reach. Public services are under strain. Young people are struggling to get established. Older people worry about their savings and bills. And everyone seems to be under pressure. That's why so many people keep asking the same question. What on earth happened?
We used to believe in something called the social contract. You contribute through tax, effort, decency, and in return you get safety, infrastructure, and the dignity of being part of a shared society. But that only works when the deal feels mutual. And right now, most of us are paying more through tax, through efforts, through fines, whilst getting less. Missed bins, potholes, delays, and broken systems. And any honest conversation about the changing nature of society has to include the sheer number of people arriving in the UK in recent years, which has put enormous pressure on our public systems. That doesn't make people bad, but when large groups appear to take more than they contribute, especially early on, it adds to the feeling that the social contract is one way. And into that tension comes the final fracture. People are becoming more insular, less neighbourly, and more focused on surviving than contributing. When your only goal is to stay afloat, you stop worrying about anyone else. That is how society unravels. So maybe it's time to stop waiting for fairness. Maybe you start building your own.
I'm actually disgusted the amount of people that have had comment and message me about the appalling treatment and the lies and the bullying that they've received from social services. One, it's absolutely terrifying. Not one person, a few people have warned me to be careful what I do because of how corrupt they are. Now, isn't that a really scary thought? This organisation, social services, that are supposed to be there to support vulnerable children, are actually bullies, corrupt, liars, and break the law. And they do this because they get away with it. They get away with it because I think people don't know how to deal with it. People don't know how to fight them. And because these people have got powers, they screw them over. They screw them over. The amount of people that have said that they've had social workers have it in for them and screw them over, like, it's fucking scary. Like, then there's Ofsted. I have spoke to Ofsted and I have spoke to the IOC. But obviously you've got to follow a process. You've got to complain to them first and then go to them. But it's fucking crazy. It's fucking crazy.
Time in my life when I've been this concerned about the state of the UK. And I'm not talking about the specific stuff, like what's going on the surface, what's happening at a particular hotel or in a particular police force, or who said what on social media. I'm actually talking about the deeper stuff, the more sinister stuff that is now taking root in British society. We can all feel it. It's almost palpable. The country has become febrile. I'm talking about the social contract, about the willingness of millions of hard-working, tax-paying, law-abiding British people to keep paying into the system, to keep supporting a system that many of them are now concluding is deeply unfair, deeply unjust, and is rigged against the hard-working majority. Because to be frank, what is happening in the UK right now is absurd. A succession of governments have lost control of the borders. Nobody seems willing to fix them. We don't know who's coming into the country. We don't know what they believe. What we do...
You know the system's broken when stuff like this happens. My dad has worked his whole life. He's been a milkman for over 41 years. Self-employed 6 days a week, no matter come rain or shine, he was out delivering. He was a grafter. He paid his taxes, he paid his bills on time, he paid his mortgage, and he had savings. When he retired in 2011, he had 3 years with my mum until she passed. Then me and my sister thought it'd be a good idea to talk to my dad about putting the house into a trust and getting some kind of will put together and obviously some power of attorney. God forbid anything happened to him. And he wouldn't have it. He wasn't interested because he was like, I'm going to live forever, no, it's going to happen to me. Don't worry about it, I'm fine. So we did try. Fast forward 2025. January. My dad was diagnosed with vascular dementia because we knew in 2023 there wasn't something quite right with him. And we were given a leaflet and said, good luck. We were assigned a social worker, which was as much use as a chocolate fire guard. We ended up educating her on stuff. She told us what we couldn't do, but not what we could do. My dad was doing crazy things like leaving the gas on, taking the boiler apart, walking the streets at night. He didn't recognise the house that he lived in anymore, that he'd been in 41 years. He thought it was a stranger's home. We tried carers, which a social worker told us to do, and she says it'll work, and it didn't. They were feeding him jam sandwiches and processed food, and he's type 2 diabetic. And it was a shit show. They kept losing his medication, not ordering his medication. I was getting phone calls all the time. He was walking the streets in his pyjamas. The neighbours were calling me. It just wasn't working. But this social worker was reluctant. She didn't want me dad in a care home. And I'm thinking, so why is she being like this? Eventually, me and my sister got him into a care home. And then we found out why she was so reluctant not to put him in a care home. Because the council have to pay a 12-week disregard. So for 12 weeks, until you sell your parents' house or the property, whatever they've got, they will pay that money for the care. And here's the best part, you don't have to pay it back. And that's why she said it's in his best interests and safer to keep him in the house. No, her best interests were to save the council money, and that's all it's about. So now my dad, after working his whole life, paying into the system, having savings and paid off his mortgage, had to now sell his house and use his savings to pay for his care in a care home after the 12-week disregard had run out. So how does that make sense? Well, there's somebody that's never worked their whole life, never paid into the pot, ends up in the same care home as him. Make that make sense. So what's the point and where's the incentive to pay off your mortgage and have savings when shit like that happens? The best thing you can do is downsize, give your inheritance to your kids early, put it into a trust or whatever, enjoy the money you've got now while you still can. Because if that's a shit show that happens in the end game, what's the fucking point? You might as well spend it and enjoy it. It's just a joke. The system is truly broken. Would you agree?
Morning everyone. I just wanted to read you something that was sent to me yesterday about tax in the UK, which I think you'd find quite interesting. So here we go. Great Britain, the land of freedom, the land of opportunity, the land where we're told you have rights as long as you can afford them. We are one of the most heavily taxed populations on earth, and for what exactly? We're taxed to earn, taxed to spend, taxed to save, taxed to pass it on, taxed to die. You're taxed on food, fuel, heating, water, bins, broadband, your birth, your death, and everything in between. You're taxed to drive to work, taxed on fuel, then taxed again to park outside the job you need just to survive. You're taxed to buy a home, taxed to own it, and taxed again when you try to leave it to your children. And if you have kids, you'll need to work full-time just to afford someone else raising them. Nursery fees, school meals, uniforms, wraparound care, voluntary contributions that aren't so voluntary. Also, you can work to pay more tax. We're working ourselves into the ground, chasing a life we barely get to live. Then when we finally hit retirement, now closer to 70, we're handed a pension that can't even cover the electric bill. After 40, 50, 60 years of contributions, they tell us there's no money left. But there's always money for them. 369 million for Buckingham Palace refurbishment, 37 billion for NHS test and trace, 9 billion wasted on HS2, 15 billion on dodgy PPE contracts, 11 billion for Ukraine, millions for royal events, unlimited funds for MPs, weapons and propaganda. But when it comes to us, crumbling schools, year-long court backlogs, 7+ million on NHS waiting lists, people sanctioned while sick, GPs fully booked for weeks, no NHS dentist, 2-year child referral wait lists, hospitals crumbling, ambulance queues. And still they say the NHS is free. No, you paid for it. Every payslip, every tax return, every year of national insurance. They say we should be grateful. And grateful for what? Freedom to what exactly? To be overworked, overtaxed, gaslit and blamed as the country collapses under the weight of its own corruption. But hey, God save the king, because the rest of us were absolutely screwed. What do you think to that? I think that's brilliant. Let me know in the comments.
The social contract, the freedoms that we've given up in exchange for protection are not there. So what can we do? Until a reform government comes in and takes charge, what can we do? Well, we have to look after ourselves. This won't be easy, but if someone comes at you with a knife, you have to accept the fact that you are going to get cut. It is that fear that will lead to a bigger problem for you. Before you go home tonight, once you finish work, whatever it is you're doing, before you get comfortable, go somewhere and become capable. I know some people, some real big, heavy guys, naturally aggressive. They are an absolute nightmare to deal with. But if you're like me, you're a bit more slight, go to the gym, put some weight on, go to a fighting gym. They are everywhere. Learn to be capable. Learn to be aggressive. Learn to be a problem. Because until a reform government comes in, it very much feels like we are on our own. These incidents will keep on happening. So we need to look after ourselves until it does. Please stay safe. Be vigilant.
I've literally seen what's happened in Belfast, and it's not just in Belfast, it's everywhere. It's constant. Like every time I go onto this app, I'm seeing someone's been stabbed or someone's freaking neck's trying to be sliced open. Do you know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck's going on? Like, there's got to be something needs to happen now, because this seems to be like a regular occurrence. Like, I'm seeing on my phone daily things that are happening, not just in this country, I mean everywhere. Everyone's just like had enough of it, especially me as well, and I've got 2 young kids. And I look at it and I think, fucking hell, what kind of world are we going to be in? Do you know what I mean? Everything's so negative. Like, if it's not happening here, it's happening somewhere else. And the one I saw last night in Belfast, like, I'll be honest, I didn't want to see it. It was disturbing, as a lot of you who've seen it probably know, but yeah, it's fucked. It's so fucked, and it's being normalised that this shit just keeps continuing to happen, but there's no change that's happening with it. Like, yeah, it's distressing, really. It's disturbing, seeing it all the time. It's sad. It's sad world we live in now.
For every young British person hired since 2020, 27 migrants from outside Europe have entered the workforce. It's the latest example of how mass migration is making things so much tougher for those who want to work hard and build a life for themselves. Shocking new figures from the Centre for Social Justice show that there are 1 million young Brits who are not in work, education or training, and that number is only growing. This has happened for all sorts of reasons, including the fact that the government has made it so much more expensive for businesses to hire people, while also making it much easier for people to rely on welfare. But amongst the biggest reasons is the impact of mass migration. In recent years, millions of people have come to Britain, the vast majority of them low-skilled workers from low-income countries. If those people work at all, it's often in roles that might otherwise have gone to young British people at the start of their careers. The report found that for every British person under 25 who has entered the workforce since 2020, 27 non-EU migrants under 25 have also been employed. It makes absolutely no sense to have so many people coming from abroad to work in these roles when there are 1 million young British people who are out of employment or education.
Like what's going on the surface, what's happening at a particular hotel or in a particular police force, or who said what on social media. I'm actually talking about the deeper stuff, the more sinister stuff that is now taking root in British society. We can all feel it, it's almost palpable. The country has become febrile. I'm talking about the social contract, about the willingness of millions of hard-working, tax-paying, law-abiding British people to keep paying into the system, to keep supporting a system that many of them are now concluding is deeply unfair, deeply unjust, and is rigged against the hard-working majority. Because to be frank, what is happening in the UK right now is absurd. A succession of governments have lost control of the borders. Nobody seems willing to fix them. We don't know who's coming into the country. We don't know what they believe. What we do know is that crisis is imposing costs of between 7 and 10 billion pounds on the UK taxpayers, on the hard-working majority, a crisis they never asked for, they never voted for, they don't want to have to deal with. And at the same time as that, in front of their eyes, the people who are breaking their laws are being further incentivized to do so by being given private accommodation, rooms in luxury hotels, at a cost of somewhere around £5.5 million every day, again to be paid for by the hard-working majority. And on top of all of that, we then discover that the UK state has been involved in one of the biggest cover-ups in its history, importing thousands of Afghans into the country while gagging the press and not telling its own people. And when anybody raises questions over any of this, they're instantly derided as far-right extremists, as anti-immigrant protesters, when in reality, what they're saying is they just want to live in a society where people play by the rules, where the laws of the land are upheld, and their democratically elected politicians, the people they have chosen to elect them, put them first. That is not a lot to ask for. That is the basics of a nation state. That is how you run a country. Yet our leaders now seem incapable of doing even that. So I am worried about the country. I'm worried that people are going to withdraw their support. I'm worried we're going to have disturbances and protests. And I'm worried this is going to become an increasingly permanent feature of British life. And if you want to know who's responsible for that, it isn't the hard-working majority. It isn't political activists. It's the people who are supposed to represent us, who are supposed to respect and uphold that social contract, because it goes two ways. In order for the people to be willing to pay into the system must represent the people, and it is failing to do so. That's my bigger concern about the UK right now. And you know what? I think millions of people out there feel exactly the same way.
Where did you get that from? Did you think I was getting it stitched up? No. Did you think I was running to the hospital? No. Just because I downsized from 30mm to 22mm doesn't mean I regret it. Just means I fancy a change of scenery. God. People are so strange. Why does this affect everybody else's life so much, what I look like? Like, wow. It's not your face, it's my face. So, this is what regret looks like, obviously. Get over yourself, man.
What's good, you lot? It's me, Lucy. This is hilarious, right? So, I'm having to jump through. I've never expressed this on here before, actually. So, when I when I had a mental breakdown 12 years ago, I was groomed into drugs and stuff like that. Sorry, this stuff fell down. My mum's had it on. I was so anyway, 12 years clean, mentally well, and much mentally better, as I've had a diagnosis now of EUPD, so much mentally better and stuff like that. So I would say I'm in a good place. But my ex is he blocked me from social media for ages, so I had no way of I'm actually in contact with his ex, who said that she made him block her. She was made to block us also. That's her words, but I do believe them. I mean, her words against his, but I believe her. So he's actively. So what his aim is here is he wants me, a woman who's mentally better, 12 years clean. I've got a plethora of drug tests to prove that, and so his aim is for me to see him as and when. And I'll tell you why this is. It's because he's kept him away from me. Like, I don't want to go into what this is doing to my son. I mean, you can imagine going through the court system for 4 years now. Not my doing. for 4 years now, because like I said, my ex's goal is for me to see him as and when, just because he's angry about our relationship 12 years ago, where I would say, get over it now, get over it. Yes, I was a tyrant, I was awful, but you know, I've took accountability, held my hands up, get over it. I certainly have, you know, move on, you know. It's so anyway, so he's actively done a night. So we got back in contact when I moved back to Manchester, and we got in touch over WhatsApp, I remember. I had a good relationship with his girlfriend at the time. I won't mention her name, but I had a good relationship with her. She sent me pictures of my son and stuff like that, but apparently my ex didn't like that. But again, obviously I'm going to believe her because I don't know my ex anymore. I've not known him for 12 years, nor does he know me. So, but actively trying to keep my son away from me. Like I said, I'm mentally well and I'm 12 years clean. They're the reasons he had to go to my ex in the first place. So, anyway, where am I up to? Let me just make sure. So yes, that's it. So I remember me and my son, I don't know if we used to speak over WhatsApp, but I think we did do something like that. Anyway, we did. There was contact between me and my son over WhatsApp at that time, and then me and my ex had a dispute over debt that we were in, that I'm paying for both of our debts because I don't want bailiffs at my son's door. That's the only reason for it, even though every time my ex moves, he doesn't want me to have his address. I don't know what he thinks I'm going to do, but he doesn't want me to have his address for some reason. Well, it's on the court document. Anyway, I don't know, I don't care, but I'm not going to give I don't want bailiffs at my son's door. I just don't. So I'm paying 3 lots of debts off for us. So there we go, you know. So he's actively dodging debts and I'm paying them off. So let me just check where I'm up to again. I got around the houses so much. So yes, so we've been going through the court. So we went through the court system the first time in 2022, I think. All went really well. I got supported straight away. I thought it'd be supervised, but it was. I'm not bothered if either or. You know, it's everything. It's all about moving forward. That's what it's all about. That's what the court system like to do, move forward. But anyway, yeah. 1 minute. Sorry, all went well. So I got supported in a contact centre. So at that time it was weekly for hours supported. At that time it was, I think, weekly and monthly for an hour. I can't remember, but it took me so long. So my aim was, because my ex said he was going to be single for years and stuff like that after he broke up with his ex that I'm still in contact with, who I really like. She's really nice, actually. I'm not saying he's well, anyway, he said he was going to be single. We communicate on a call app now, you see. Yeah, so he said on that very app that he's going to be single for ages. It's going to be him and my son. That's it for a long time. 2 weeks later, yes, I have met someone else. I already knew that anyway. You know, we live in a very small town. So he doesn't drive. He's I can't pronounce that word. His CV for women is must have a driving license. So he's got a new girlfriend now with a nice driving license. So anyway, but my train of thought was I didn't want them getting loads of buses, so I was going for the nearest one. Took me ages, getting the wrong court orders there and stuff like that, and them communicating back with me, and anyway, it was a whole mess. Anyway, got there in the end. My son got to first place, and then my ex decided to report me to social services. For what reason? unbeknownst to me, I have no idea. I mean, I'm accused of being a drinker now. That's hilarious coming from him. So, yeah, so, where am I up to? Hold on. That's it. So it doesn't matter now. He drives, but anyway, he got to first place. That's when he said, "No, I'm gonna. I've got concerns." He had concerns at that time. Once my son had got to first place, suddenly had concerns, and then he decided to take me back to court. And then the statement he quoted. I mean, I mean, he's under no scrutiny, and I am, and I don't have so we got a new. So now he's took me back to court because the social services. I'm not under investigation. I'm not under social services at all because I don't need to be. They told him it's a civil matter. I don't need to. It's not enough to investigate me for whatever reason he came out with. So said it was civil matter. Needs to take me back to court, which is what we're doing at the minute, but it's on my operation day, isn't it? Of course it would be. So I'm having to jump through because I haven't had a CAFCAS worker for 3 months. That's the last time she contacted me because I very respectfully said, "Is it too late for a new CAFCAS worker?" And I kept getting an explanation mark as if I was blocked every time I texted her after that. And every time I rang her, it was like, "This call cannot be connected." But all of a sudden, she texted me back. When I expressed this to my ex, she texted me back the other day. She's had so much contact with my ex and zero with me for 3 months. Zero. I've had small contact with her manager, but yeah, we keep missing each other this week. She's rang me, I've missed her. She's we keep leaving each other messages and whatnot. That's where I'm up to at the minute. That's what my ex is. So he's actively, nicely keeping him away from me for a long time. So to the point where, why would he want to spend any time with me? But anyway, for now, bye bye.
We're often told about the poorest in society and how they're the most hard done by, but I disagree.
Okay, let's see what he has to say.
I would argue society is almost entirely run for the bottom 20%. Not arguing for worse poverty, but I do want to make clear, even with the scales tipped unfairly in their favour, a section of society lacks the desire or ability to lift themselves out.
Okay, look, I do kind of think that if you have to start a sentence with, "I'm not arguing for worse poverty," that you might want to rethink the sentence. I don't know, it's just my opinion. But I do want to start with just addressing a basic misunderstanding here. Yes, the tax and welfare system does redistribute money, but you can see that in 2 different ways. You can see that the way he's talking about it, basically money being transferred from hard-working people to the bottom 20%. Or you can see it the way a lot of economists actually do, which is more like a lifelong piggy bank where you distribute money throughout people's lives. Most of us are net beneficiaries from the tax system when we are young and when we are old and retired. And then for about 40 years in the middle of our lives, when we work, we are net contributors. We put money into the system. And the state's job is to distribute that wealth throughout our lives. We contribute when we're working, and then the state pays for us when we're children, when we're retired, when we're sick. In fact, in this country, we spend more on pensioners than we do on working age social security and benefits. And that's despite the fact that 27% of pensioners are millionaires. We do that because we're distributing throughout lives rather than necessarily between different people.
They will always be a burden. We live in a society where I believe anyone can have anything. But I've accepted some people don't want to hold themselves accountable and prefer to blame everyone else for their poor decisions.
The idea that some people will always be a burden and that's because they just don't want to take responsibility is just not true. I would actually agree that there are more and more people who are able to work who aren't working, and that that's an issue that government needs to solve. But probably the bigger issue in the benefit system right now is that work just doesn't pay. Around 40% of people who are on universal credits are in work, they are working, and 3/4 of children who live in poverty have at least one parent in that household who is also working. People are working. The issue is that for millions, the wage just doesn't cover the cost of living. The biggest demographic pressures on this country isn't necessarily laziness. It's that we have more older people living longer, drawing pensions, using the health service, and we have fewer working age people paying in to be able to cover that cost.
What makes it worse is everyone is aware the solution is an easy one. For the foreign families to go back home and be cared for by their tribe.
I want to be really clear here. This part of the video came out of nowhere for me. He goes straight from saying not enough British people are working to scapegoating immigrants. If the issue is people aren't working, you'd kind of expect immigration to help, right? Having more working age people to pay tax. Also, it's probably a good time to point out that about a third of nurses are from another tribe, as he put it, working in our NHS to look after our tribe.
It was this that broke the social contract.
Okay, let's talk about the social contract, because it's this bit that in my mind the video gets completely backwards. Claims that the social contract has broken because people don't work, but what if it's actually the other way around? People aren't working because they don't believe the social contract works anymore. They don't believe that if they work hard and have a successful career that will pay off. You could work all the hours of the day and still not be able to afford a house and be flat sharing into their 30s and 40s. Paying high tax but still not be able to get a GP appointment. The social contract is so broken that even children don't believe it anymore. When you poll children, they're now less likely to believe that if they work hard at school then they'll get better grades. That relationship between hard work and reward is just fundamentally broken in so many people's minds.
So if any of you's actually just seen the condition of that guy's face, it's kind of circular. I just put it in my story there. You're not going to sit there and tell me that wasn't fucking brutality. You know, that's not attempted murder, that's fucking butchery, terrorism, everything you could fucking throw at the wee arsehole. And then you're going to sit and say that, oh, they don't have a right to protest, and oh, this was coming. You know, I said this years ago. We are one Lee Rigby away from a tinderbox, and here we have it. And now the government are like, oh, you know, I'm still adamant there has to be a case that you can sue the government for that, because as I say, that their objectives are to keep the citizens of this country safe. Hence why we have GDP on defence spending, which they've not been doing. So that's a failure. Instead, they would rather spend money to paint roundabouts in rainbow colours and add cycle lanes to every city that is absolutely unused, apart from the delivery drivers, but maybe that's why they're doing it, to keep the immigrants on the job. And yeah, all these vanity, I mean, we've got all the money to send to Ukraine and all that, so you can't sit there and say that we don't have the money to be spending it on defence. And I don't care what laws the EU dictate, we're an island, we don't need them. That was the whole point in Brexit, so you can't sit there and say that this ECHR is effective anymore. It is protecting criminals, and anything that protects a criminal, in my eyes, is just completely backwards. Now, it's very much innocent until proven guilty, but obviously I've been to court a few times and it feels the other way. It feels guilty until proven innocent, basically, which is backwards in itself. So the legal system is completely broken as well. So that's, and I reckon as well, right, so see when you see, oh, he's got mental health, well, you'd have to be fucking mental to try and take somebody's head off, let's be honest, right? But I think because when you obviously have that, the law in this country is you're entitled to an attorney, right? So these lawyers they don't really want to defend these guys unless you're a fucking, you do get some horrible ones, right, with no spine. These are assigned, so they're just going to go and, right, we'll go with the mental health act, we'll go with this, go that, to try and save face. I think that's all it is, so that the loss isn't, you know, how could you sit there and defend something like that? So I think that's why you always hear, oh, you guys got mental health. Well, yeah, you are fucking mental if you got visions of actually beheading somebody. You're a wrongin'. I am not going to sit here and listen to people tell me that everything that's happening is unjustified and this and that, and oh my god, you know, think of the kids and think of the innocence. Well, nobody was thinking of the innocence when they brought these idiots in. And this has been going on well before Labour, so you can't just pin it on Starmer. Like, that I will say, it's very unfair to actually pin this. This is actually on those two Tory MPs who are now in Reform, hence why you should not actually vote Reform, by the way, because they are just blue Tories. All they've done, if you're not up to date with how it's all worked, they were doing just before the elections there, they were taking all the crap. Everybody was jumping ship to save their skin. I mean, the MPs are slippery snakes, wee gravy snake bastards. So they were all jumping ship into reform, and they've just taken them in. So if you vote reform, you're just voting for more of the same. I don't really give a shit what anybody says on that. The only party that I actually truly believe in is Restore, and we're not going to get that for quite some time. So, you know, that's kind of where we're at. But anyways, so the governments across the board have failed for years. So there has to be a grounds that you can sue them because they're not doing their job. They're not doing what they're elected to do, which is to provide for the citizens. You know, that's the whole point, you know. They think we're here to provide them position when it's actually they're here to provide us. And they don't do it. They fall short on every regard, from education right through to defence and safety. So that is why I'd love to go into politics. I've got so many ideas that could transform the country, honestly. But you need sort of a big influence, and you could probably get financial backing at some point, but you would need influence. So if I am speaking sense, then give me a follow, because the more I've got, the better it will be, because we can start getting this pushed out. I would do what Rupert Lewis done and start with Glasgow. There's a lot of failure in Glasgow. I mean, you just have to take a look what they've done to the city centre, and it's real. I mean, potholes is one problem across the whole, but you know, I think everybody can agree as well that their bins are infested with rats. That's the next thing. Everywhere just looks like a shithole. And I'm not just talking about graffiti. Everything's overgrown. They're just not cutting anything, or not, you know. And again, you've got all these fit and able people who could work. I would be making them, so when you go to the job centre, they make you look for like X amount of jobs and you've got to do an interview. I would be in that criteria. 1 day a week you're doing community service, be it painting walls to make them look fresh, cutting, you know, foliage, whatever. And see, if you don't do it, you don't get your benefits. It's really that simple. It's a very broken system, and the only way to fix it is to sometimes you have to just be a wee bit cruel and maybe a wee bit sallis, just to go, right, well, this is what you need to do to get that. There are no free handouts in life, and I wish people would realise this. Not a single thing in life is free. It all comes at a cost, be it personal or more. There's always a cost to it. So the fact that these people can sit in the house and do fuck all, and claim benefits and just be like, yeah, cool, and that's it. And the taxpayer, aka, you know, these lefties calling us far right, we're the ones that are keeping the fucking country afloat. We're the ones that would go and fight when, you know, shit hits the fan. I've never seen a lefty builder, and I've never seen a lefty in the army, right? Two places you just won't find them. So if you're looking for a job where there's no lefties, they're the two. Where you'll find the lefties are they're indoctrinated in university, and then they'll start fucking all that pish like, oh yeah, I've got a wee Etsy shop. Good for you, mate. Well done. Contributing fuck all. So, and you're not building anything that's going to last years or whatever. So anyways, I'll die in that hole. I think we're all sick of it. I'm certainly sick of it. I want change, and it's the time for words and all that pish is done. It's completely finished. So we all need to start thinking, like, what's our priorities and how do we get there? And believe me, I got millions of ideas, and I'm not going to sit and write a manifesto when I don't really have the backing for it. There's literally no point in doing that with like 1,600 followers. You never get it. So I would need to skyrocket in that term. So I just keep doing these videos, and hopefully people actually sort of go, do you know what, he actually speaks a bit of sense, and maybe it will work out. And if it does, then happy days. That's all you can really do, and that's all you can really wish for in life. But yeah, let's just hope that this is the start of the end, man. That this is the start of things to come, and we can actually maybe get somewhere. Do you know what I mean? Because right now you can't keep doing more of the same.
I'm not just a human head. I have got a body like the rest of the body, but I'm just cold, so I thought I'd lay in bed. Talking heads. I think I'm funny, I'm not. Do you want to know what social services have done? I mean, not only straight away, the minute after court finished, did they run to the schools, pick up the kids and wanted to tell them that they were never going to see the mum for the remainder of their childhood, exact words. that came from my children's mouths themselves, and they couldn't wait. It's almost as though they gained great joy in being able to say, look, we were right, your mum is a horrible woman, your mum is mental. You know, we're working on, we're trying to get him to, you know, have contacts with you, but, you know, you're not going to see the mum for the remainder of your childhood. Then I got my SAR request, subject access request, and that dealt with a matter from last proceedings where there were some dodgy emails that went between two members of staff, which meant I shouldn't have lost the kids in the first place because of the things that were being said. So under the rights that you've got to get information held on you, I applied for this 2 years ago or a year ago, and they were claiming that because of COVID, they could not do anything about it. The delay was there, Anyway, they then dealt with it, started dealing with it last year. You are 44th in the queue, you're 30th in the queue, you're 25th. I kept chasing it and chasing it and chasing it. We guarantee now we'll get you a response by December. Didn't get the response, but got an email saying we'll get you a response by January. I've almost done collating it. Then all of a sudden, I get a email yesterday saying, sorry, due to unexpected information, you are no longer entitled to this information. Therefore, we will cancel your SAR.
Not just about money either. It's trust. People trust institutions less, trust politicians less, trust corporations less, trust the media less, trust each other less. And once trust starts disappearing, things become much harder to hold together. When I was younger, people certainly complained. Brits have always enjoyed a good moan. But underneath it all, there was usually confidence that things would eventually improve. Today I hear something different, a feeling that standards are slipping, a feeling that common sense is disappearing, a feeling that nobody is steering the ship. Sometimes it feels like we're all passengers listening to announcements from the captain while wondering if anyone's actually on the bridge. And that's dangerous, because societies aren't held together by laws alone. They're held together by trust. Trust that hard work matters. Trust that rules apply fairly. Trust that the future will be better than the present. When enough people start doubting those things, the foundations start creaking. Britain isn't falling apart overnight. Most people are still decent, hard-working and responsible, but many can sense that something important has weakened. Not a building, not a road, not an institution. The understanding that we're all pulling in roughly the same direction. Perhaps that's what people mean when they say the social contract feels broken. Not that everything has collapsed, but that fewer and fewer people believe the deal still works. And once people stop believing in the deal, that's when real trouble begins. Cheerio, and I will see you all in the next video.